And now I have two another good friends who happen to be brothers also and founders of the same company, Ankit Prasad and Rahul Prasad. They are both founders of Bobble AI. So first of all, very, very warm welcome to both of you, Ankit and Rahul, and thanks for taking time out to talk to the ML Elevate founders.
Thank you so much, Ayush, for inviting us. I'm very excited, and it looks like a diverse set of founders. One thing which is probably common between all of them and us is that all of us are trying to leverage the power of data, AI, and ML or other cutting edge technologies, right? And that connects all of us
Absolutely.
together.
Absolutely. They all serve on different industry use cases, right from enterprise tech to BFSI to media entertainment to healthcare, building different use cases built on technologies like computer vision, NLP, low code, no code, and so on and so forth. So absolutely, you're right. They're diverse in that sense, but they all are building AI core products, and they all are AI founders. Quickly, for the benefit of the audiences, Bobble.ai is founded by dynamic duo of brothers, and it's perhaps the world's first conversational AI-driven media platform. They are on the mission to enrich everyday conversations by empowering expressions for users with amazing suite of keyboard applications. I picked this up, Ankit and Rahul, from a public source. So pardon me if this is not accurate. And let me also give a quick introduction to both the speakers. Ankit Prasad, founder and CEO of Bobble. Since the age of 6, Ankit has been fascinated by coding and was formally recognized by the district collector. At the age of 16, he made his first technology startup profitable. He joined IIT Delhi and studied mathematics and computational engineering, but dropped out it, soon enough to pursue his entrepreneurial ambitions. Coming to Rahul Prasad, who's the founder and CTO, he completed his bachelor's in computer science as well. Parallelly, alongside his studies, he started a web design services venture in 2006, which was also sold. So, welcome both of you to this session. And folks, this is going to be an interesting fireside chat that I'm going to do with both Ankit and Rahul. So, really looking forward to it. So, let's kick off, guys. Ankit and Rahul, my first question is, can you please walk everyone through your entrepreneurial journey and briefly talk about what, in your words, what is Bobble.ai? Also, while you're answering that, what was the genesis of Bobble.ai that two engineer brothers zeroed down to launch the first conversational AI-driven media platform? So over to you.
Okay. Sure, Ayush. So, in order to understand Bobble, it is we take certain analogies, right? The way, let's say, Snapchat and Instagram are built on top of camera utility, right? Or for that matter, YouTube is built upon video player utility. Truecaller over phone book, Glance over lock screen. There are so many other examples, right? Dropbox over file manager. One of the utilities which was lagging behind was the keyboard typing utility. And the primary reason was the keyboard APIs were not open for third-party developers until 2016, right? For both Android and iOS. We took this as as an opportunity to build a holistic platform on top of keyboard utility. Now, having said that, this is not how we arrived at the idea. This is how we explain it in retrospective, right? When we started Bobble in 2015, the vision was the same, to enhance the conversation experience for millions of smartphone users out there. The vision still remains the same. Though the modus operandi keeps changing, it is evolving, right? When we started in 2015, it was a user-generated content app to help the consumers create conversational content like stickers, GIFs, emojis with their personal bobblehead, which is the cartoonified version of yourself. And that idea really picked, amongst the smartphone users. They loved the concept of sharing stickers via keyboard in their chat tabs, because WhatsApp, for that matter, didn't have any content available inside the platform. So it really picked up fast. We started adding 1 million users every couple of months. And that's when, but suddenly towards the later part of 2015, early 2016, Android scrapped that API which we were using for distributing our content in the form of a widget on top of WhatsApp. Um, Therefore, we had to come up with a more sustainable distribution channel for our content. This is when we discovered the keyboard APIs in early 2016 and launched the private beta version of it, right? Um, I can let Rahul talk about how he and his team discovered those keyboard APIs and built a POC in a very short span of time, proved the concept. We were the first keyboard in the world to launch stickers and GIFs inside the keyboard real estate, right? Um, and the Google Gboard came, I think, 4 5 months after we had launched our keyboard. And Microsoft SwiftKey got acquired by Microsoft. Um, Again, towards the later part of 2016. Baidu came up with Facemoji keyboard late 2016. Right? So we saw the opportunity. We had the first mover advantage, um, and we were able to connect the consumers' expectations with the product and tech innovations. Right? Expectations like um, having the ability to express better during conversation, the ability to explore internet and smartphones in their native language, localization, and the desire to get intelligent recommendations throughout their smartphone user journeys, be it uh, commerce journey, be it um, information search, or be it content exploration, etc. Whatever you do on smartphone, keyboard plays a significant role in it, right? Whether you are searching for a product on Amazon or putting a location in Uber, keyboard has a role to play. Um, and therefore, being an assistive tool, uh, there could be much more value that can be created through that real estate rather than just assisting in predicting the next keyword that you are typing, right? Or just correcting the spelling of your words. I think it's a very underutilized real estate. Um, and there's a need to evolve it. There's a need to uh, transform it into a platform. And that's the journey we took in 2016. Since then, we have grown far. We've come so far and grown so much that now we have 80 million plus devices where our keyboard is being used, and it is growing very fast in both India, Indonesia, and some of the other neighboring countries.
So in fact,
Interesting. Thank you. Yeah, I think I'm coming to Rahul only. Rahul, I would love to hear from you more on where Ankit left off, and specifically if you can talk about the 0 to 1 journey of early, product development, etc. But over to you, Rahul.
before I do that, I would like to add to what Ankit said. Keyboard was a plan B for us. It was a fail-safe for us. So there were multiple options that we were exploring on how to make conversation more expressive for users. Widget was one of the things which was very popular at that time. In fact, it was being used by multiple other companies for multiple other purposes. And keyboard was just an experiment that we were doing to explore, will this work or not. But suddenly, Android blocked the APIs which were used to create widgets. So widgets can still be created, but it won't know which application is there in the forefront. So we would not know that if it's WhatsApp, so stickers should be visible. If it's Gmail, it should not be visible, something like that. That was not possible. So that's why we pivoted to keyboard. But then we realized there are so many problems with the keyboard which everyone is facing, but nobody is solving. And we were, in fact, this is the 0 to 1 journey where we started identifying problems, started solving them, and we were first to do a lot of things in the keyboard space. For example, mixing of languages, English, Benglish, Tamilis. You see these languages everywhere in all the keyboards, but we were the first who launched it in India. Similarly, you see a emoji bar on top of the keyboard. We were the one who introduced it to the world, that whenever you are typing, emojis will change accordingly. So, so we kept on innovating, keeping our vision in mind, and also started solving the problems that users were facing, and that's why we started growing. So first, we needed to focus on few key matrices like retention of the user. We needed a very high retention of the user. In fact, we can proudly say that we are the most. We have the a very good retention number compared to any other application in India, and in fact in the whole world. So retention is was something that was important for us. Engagement was something which was very important for us. Typed in words, like how many users are actually typing and not just using it for stickers. So those matrices we started focusing on, and we started building more and more features. And the product started evolving. And this was our 0 to 1 journey, figuring out what people are missing or what people need without asking them. So if you go ahead and ask, do you like my product? Everyone is going to say, yes, I like your product. Nobody is going to give you exact feedback. You have to understand from analytics. So we built our own big data platform since the beginning. So people were using Google Analytics and all, but Google Analytics had this problem of sampling. So when you have a when you have a large user base, Google gives you an answer where it's a 1% sample or 2% sample of the data. So that was not reliable for us. So we started creating our own big data platform, and we started analyzing everything user is doing on the keyboard based on events. For example, how many users are sharing the stickers, how many users are able to figure out where the stickers are, or how many users are able to figure out what are all the features are present or not, and per user how much shares are there. So we started focusing on matrices, started understanding what is the problem without even asking the user, started solving them. So just optimizing matrices slowly and slowly, we were able to build a product which is being loved by users a lot in India and now in Indonesia and other parts of the world as well.
Awesome. A very quick build on to that question, Rahul. So these are all the wins and the successes that you talked about. But if you look back in your 0 to 1 journey, and I'm assuming you've crossed that path now, right? Most of the for the benefit of all the audiences, they are perhaps it would be safe to say that they're in their 0 to 1 journey. You talk about one of your biggest challenge that you faced, one or two. I mean, there are many challenges for founders in that journey, but one of your main challenge. And if now, when you are across that journey, maybe you are in the 1 to 10 journey, or maybe in your 20 to 25, 10 to 25 journey. When you look back, what would be that one thing that you would love to do differently? So one
So,
challenge, looking back at 0 to 1, and looking back now, what would you do differently? Can you go back in time?
so Ayush, I would qualify ourselves in the 80 million to 800 million journey, and not 10 to 100 or 1 to 10. And of course, when you grow as an organization and when there are larger consumer base to take care of, when there are paying clients whose expectations needs to be met, and when there are growing competition in the market, a lot changes. Like Rahul mentioned, in the early stages of the journey, the primary challenge was how do we ensure that consumers are happy with our product? We are able to add value in their daily life, in their daily conversations. They are engaging with the product more often and retaining with the product for a longer period of time, right? So this was the initial level of challenges. Now the challenges are, what happens if government comes up with data protection bill? How can we influence to bring it in our favor? How do we combat Google monopoly via CCI, right? Or by lobbying in CCI? How do we how do we build relationship with Chinese OEMs while there is India-China anti-sentiment going on, right? These are the larger challenges that we are tackling these days compared to the early days, right? So early days, I think the primary focus should be uh, whosoever is your consumer or customer, depend upon the business use case. Um, they should be, I mean, the entire focus and effort should go into um, satisfying their expectations and needs, ensuring that they remain your client or remain your consumer of the technology, right? I think that is the first problem that needs to be solved. Once it is resolved, then you look at the externals, right? External factors, which can give you further growth, right? Which can ensure your sustainability for long term, right? So, yeah, these are some points on my side, and Rahul, if you might want to add.
And technically, one of the problem that everyone will agree to me is hiring. Hiring is one of the biggest challenge at this phase. So that I can tell you. So we, when we were facing this issues, we started focusing on building uh, from the bottoms up, and then hiring the leadership position. So we started focusing on hiring on top, but then we were not hiring at the freshers level or the junior level. We were building them. We were building them through internship. So we used to, in fact, still this is working very good for us right now. We take in a lot of interns, and they go through a journey of 6 months, 3 months of training, 3 months of projects, and we start qualifying them. Judging them based on how they are performing, and the we keep the top performers with us, and we give them pre-placement offer. This way they know about our culture, this way they know about how we like to work, and performance, what kind of performance is being expected from them, being data oriented in decision making. So all those things, we don't so their cup is already empty. If somebody with 4 or 5 years of experience comes to our company, it's very difficult to teach them. But then for leadership position, we are very much cautious. So leadership has to be very experienced, very knowledgeable, domain expert, and also someone who can ensure that everyone is performing at their level best. But this is the formula that we are following to solve the hiring problem.
If I may quickly summarize what Rahul just mentioned, we call it build, buy, borrow strategy, right? The three B's of hiring,
Okay.
or rather team building, right? The three B's of team building. And there has to be a very healthy balance between the build, buy, and borrow channels, right? So build channel is what Rahul mentioned, get the talent at an early stage, be it a fresher or a student as an intern or trainee, and then build those skills which you need them in the coming times, right? Buy is you go ahead and poach the ready-made talent who is already working on similar projects, who is already delivering quality outcomes on those skill sets. Just go ahead and poach them from your competition or from the relevant industry people, right? So that's the buy strategy and the buy channel. And the borrow channel is when you need it for a smaller period of time. Let's say you want to build a dashboard, which is just a front end. You don't need to build an entire team for it. Just go ahead and outsource it to an agency to do that work for you, right? So that's the borrow. Or you hire a consultant to do your sort of some GTM outreach or something, right? So basically, you start borrowing people's time or skill sets for a shorter period of time. There has to be a healthy mix of all the three, and that mix changes when you grow in your journey, right? Initially, it could have been a much higher portion of build versus buy because the buying affordability is less. It is difficult to poach from, let's say, Amazons of the world, right? So for a tech startup like us, and therefore, a build makes sense at the early stage, or borrow makes sense, right? So I can go ahead and convince somebody to do a consulting from me instead of, taking the commercial liability of getting them full time. While at an early stage, the lifespan of the or the runway of the startup is not, is questionable. Right? For those reasons, senior talent we used to borrow, and we used to build the fresh talent within the organization. Now that ratio had changed, right? We don't mind buying people when there is an urgent project that needs to be completed, right? Or we have to keep building a pipeline of talent to ensure succession, right? Or to de-risk us from the churn, attrition, right? So yeah, I think if you start thinking from that framework of build, buy, borrow, I think a lot of things will get clear, and every business is unique, and you better know what you need to, how much you need to put effort in for the long-term build or a quick borrow.
Great, great. So I think I think good advice on the hiring part. Let me pivot the conversation now to an interesting topic. Most of the audiences that you have in the room are AI first companies, and they're building AI products, right? In the life cycle of an AI founder, when I talk to a lot of founders, and especially this cohort, um, talk a little bit about, in the early days, they get some early POCs from customers, right? And I'm assuming B2B customers here. However, that may not necessarily align with their overall product roadmap or the vision that the founder has set out for, which is a perhaps larger vision, right? But these early customers can give them some cash flows. However, it may require some customization. Where do you draw a line? Where do you draw a line that, okay, let me go with the market needs and get some monies in, versus let me stick to my original vision, which is a larger vision. But the build of that vision is taking time. So, any advice that you would like to share with your founders, and because you also had evolved through these 6-7 years.
When it comes to um, understanding market signals, and if a potential client is coming and asking for something which is a little different from what you have been envisioning, I would consider that as a market signal or feedback, right? uh, Now it has to be a judicious call of the founder whether such signals are more frequent or it's an exception, right? Specific to an industry or a client. So if it is a too much deviation from the original plan, I would never do it, because then it hampers the or shakes the strength of the fundamental foundation that we have laid for our vision. But if it's a slight improvisation or a slightly different take on the same similar vision or similar product, uh, I think there's a merit in analyzing it, in incorporating some of it, in going ahead with it as an experiment and learn as you grow, right? Yeah, so it is very subjective, right? How much deviation is it from your original plan? And uh, I think the decision making framework should not be how much money is being offered in return of that delivery, but rather the decision making framework should be, uh, is this deviation will be a good learning for our business, or will it be a distraction for our business, right? And I think the founder has to take a gut call here.
Uh, a follow-up question on that. Building onto the same question. Be it a B2C company or a B2B company, acquiring the first few customers, the numbers can change given a B2B, B2C. Let's say B2B company, acquiring the first 5 to 7 customers is the toughest. And typically people say these sales should be founder-led. So can you talk to us, can you talk to the audiences about how your first customers, both from a B2B and B2C, I understand Bobble is a B2B, B2C platform, right? How did you go about successfully acquiring the first customers? What were the challenges thereof and the learnings?
Yeah, our entire business is B2B. Um, while we acquire consumers to build certain assets like data, content sharing, and engagement, but at the end of the day, our business model is to sell those assets in different product forms to other businesses out there. And therefore, we would classify our business model as B2B. Now, having said that, the first set of customers, I believe, has to be founder-led, right? Because unless you yourself has gone ahead and sold your product or offerings to a few clients, it is very difficult to sit in your office and looking at the Excel sheets and presentations uh, and ensure that the market will actually adopt your solution, right? I think it's very important from learning perspective, um, and for building the confidence within the organization, that the first few sales has to be led from the front by the founder themselves. And based on that, the right skill sets can be onboarded into the business team who can replicate that initial success into a scalable approach or a scalable GTM strategy. Right? Because founder might be passionate about the solutioning part of it, but they might not be a good salesperson, so to say. Right? And therefore, uh, I would always advise that founder should not become the chief business officer. They need to, uh, of course, the first few sales are led by them, and that's how the learning has come. Um, but there has to be expert for every important function in business, or go to market is definitely one of the most important function in a company like ours. And therefore, finding the right skill set, onboarding the right skill sets becomes crucial. Um, the sooner it happens, the better for the company. I have seen startups doing decently even without having a leadership in the business development front. Uh, but I don't think that was a choice of the startup, but rather it was a compulsion for the startup because it is difficult to attract senior talent at an early stage, right? Like I said, it has to be ASAP, depending upon how soon you are able to attract such a talent, right? Um, so the initial sales definitely teaches us a lot. It teaches us, and and many a times I've also seen founders doing a mistake of keep taking it on their ego, right? This solution that I have built, according to me, is the best solution. According to me, is the solution that you should pay for, and this is the amount that you should pay for. I'm not going to sell below this amount. And things like, uh, I am not going to beg you to accept my solution. These are some of the ego issues that typically a founder may fall into, because it is very imperative by the fact that founders have a specific nature, personality, which comes on their way in the form of an ego. That has to be kept aside while you are approaching the market initially, right? You have to be very, very open-minded, very, very receptive towards market signals and feedbacks. Uh, and you have to be open to consider that you can be wrong. And many a times, be it pricing of the solution or be it the solution itself, I mean, you can be wrong. And this is an opportunity for you to learn and improvise.
Thank you. Great. I mean, I like to, just to add on to that from my side. I mean, there is no one right answer in the world of startups, and that's why entrepreneurs have to go through that ambiguity, and they signed up for it knowingly, willingly, right? Just before this, we had a session with one of our folks who was talking about penetrating into enterprises, selling AI products, and he made a very unconventional statement saying, you can tell the enterprise that perhaps you are not ready for my solution, and with a in the same breath sort of give a solution to that enterprise. So interesting to know that. Rahul, your thoughts on the same. Would you like to add on to in the early days any learnings in acquiring the first 5-10 customers as a founder?
I just agree to what Ankit said. Ankit looks after all the business and acquiring customers. I'm just a techie working in front of my computer.
Okay, so let me now shift gears
No, no.
to something that
If I may quickly add one more point from Rahul's perspective, one of the things that I can say is, um, uh, when you have multiple founders, while I may be the business-facing founder, but it gives me a lot of comfort and confidence to face those businesses when I know that there is someone who is backing me. And if I go and tell them that, look, the business or the potential customer wants to get it done in 3 days, which might look challenging, but I can still go ahead and commit during the meeting without telling them, hey, I need to talk to my co-founder and get back with a timeline. I can go ahead and commit a timeline and come back to my team and say, look, I have committed my timeline. Now you have to keep my back. And that confidence comes from the fact that I have a team which is never going to say no, which has a never say no attitude, right? And that attitude needs to be built in the product and technology and solutioning team, who might not be business facing, but they need to be sensitive. They need to be sensitive towards the market situations. Typically, I felt that many of the engineers and product managers are more sensitive towards their own team members, right? मेरा डेवलपर वीकेंड में कैसे काम करेगा, QA से रात में क्वालिटी चेक कैसे करवाऊं, like these are the things that goes on their minds, rather than things like अगर मैंने ये नहीं किया तो ये अपॉर्चुनिटी चली जाएगी, राइट? या फिर जो सामने 3 दिन की डिमांड रख रहा है उसकी भी अपनी अर्जेंसी है, बिकॉज फोर्थ डे उसे अपना सॉफ्टवेयर लॉन्च करना है या जो भी है सीन, राइट? एंड दैट इज व्हाई दे आर आस्किंग फॉर 3 days, राइट? So many times we have to build a bridge between
got it.
the external market situations and the internal team challenges and thought process, right? And that confidence has to always be there, that the person who is front ending uh, need to of course, they need to take judicious calls here, but they have to be given that much confidence that once they come back to home, they won't face a denial. हम नहीं कर
Yep.
रहे क्योंकि ये तो नहीं हो सकता, right?
And I think that gets built as a culture, right? And
Right.
that's imbibed in the culture since the early days. And I was going to actually pick onto a different topic, but now that you brought this topic, Ankit, I want to segue into a very sensitive topic. I don't think many people talk about it. Some VCs do talk about it. Uh, most of the startups, I can safely say, who are a part of this cohort have multiple founders, right? And of course, many of them, all of us are techies at the end of the day. Even I'm an engineer, right? But there are different KRAs. Walk us through. And there is no right answer, as I always like to believe, right? There is no right answer for one company. What could work for you may not work for others. Being the same use case, same industry, same. Walk us through how inter-founder relationships evolve from the early days to today where you are. I mean, I have also been in entrepreneurial shoes prior to joining Amazon, and everybody does everything, right? And of course, there are some domains that one looks at. But how have you, as Bobble.ai, amongst the two of you, between the two of you, evolved as founders and your family also, right? So, do you have clearly demarcated domains, or is it still gray areas? Walk us through the KRAs for founders.
Sure.
Anybody, Rahul
If
or Ankit? Yeah.
I can take it up, I don't mind. So I think this question should not be restricted to the dynamics between the co-founders. I think it should be expanded a little bit to include the founding team members, the core team members, right? Who are always instrumental in building this organization ground up. And whenever you will gather a set of alpha entrepreneurial mindset people, because these early core team members are also having entrepreneurial mindset. They might not have the founder tag with them because they did not probably were on day one when the company was getting registered or whatever. But at the end of the day, they do have the entrepreneurial mindset, and that's why they are at an early stage startup like us, right? And they are leading a function. They have their, they bring their own value and experience on table. Um, for those reasons, when you bring an alpha entrepreneurial mindset sort of people in the same table for a discussion, the debates are bound to happen. Right? It's human nature to be tempted to share your views and share your opinion on a matter which might or might not lie on your domain, right? Even a developer comes to a business team and gives their ideas on how revenue should be generated. Or a business team gives ideas to product team how the UX should look like, right? There is always going to be cross-functional sharing of ideas and opinions and suggestions. The question, the billion-dollar question during this discussion is, who has the D? D stands for decision-making power. Who has the D? So let's say 4 people are sitting in a room and discussing on a product roadmap, then who has the authority to decide? And if all of the persons involved in that decision respects the D, then it will be a fruitful discussion. If they don't respect the D, it will fall apart. It will be a messy fight, right? So first thing first, that D needs to be very clearly articulated who has it in that given discussion, in that given room. And ideally, a
But
person who's a
just to interject, the D also depends upon what context we are discussing. So
correct,
hypothetically, if you're
correct. So let's
discussing,
say I am
yeah,
discussing the product roadmap, then my chief product officer should have the D, not the CEO, not the CBO, not the CFO, not anybody else. CPO has to have the D. CFO can tell him that, look, if you follow this roadmap, then you're going to incur a lot of employee cost, which will be hard for us to bear. CBO can tell you that, look, if you follow this product roadmap, but then my market demands a certain other features, right, which the clients are asking me for. You might try to include it, and they can put it in a firm, assertive manner. But the final decision has to be by the CPO, and once he decides, everybody has to be on the same page, right? The decision
got it.
has been taken. Let's leave aside all the discussions that has gone in order to arrive at a decision, and then move on with whatever decision has already been taken, right? If that is
Go.
the approach and mutual respect between the founding team members and co-team members, uh, usually I have seen that it goes a longer way.
Got it.
To add to
Interesting.
it, trust is the value I would like to emphasize upon. So trust is something that is needed. So once that is once, so let's say if somebody is saying, let's say chief business officer is saying something, chief product officer is saying something, uh, you should be able to trust them that whatever they are saying, they have done their research and they are saying for the good of the company. They don't
Yeah.
have their personal ego in front of them. So if that is clear, if you can reach at that level where people are trusting and respecting each other, then that solves the issue.
I absolutely agree with you, Rahul. Actually, at Amazon, we go by some leadership principles. I think it's publicly very known. There are two leadership principles out of the 16 that we have. One is earn trust, and one is disagree and commit. And what essentially they talk about is once you have trust, the trust is a horizontal across any decision. And the second one is very powerful. Even if I'm disagreeing with you, I will commit to you. I will commit to what you have decided. So I
Exactly.
really, yeah,
Yeah,
I love the
exactly.
disagree and commit.
Yeah, exactly what I was saying. I think you put it in the right phrase, disagree and commit. I was saying the same thing. Once the decision has been taken, everybody has to respectfully agree to it, right?
But then
Correct.
debate is necessary. Debate
Yeah.
needs to happen. It's not that if just CPU has said it, so everyone should align and should start working on it. Debate is necessary. Debate, it's okay to have a heated debate, but at the end of the debate, whatever decision has been made has been made. So everyone needs to follow
Got it.
that decision. उससे पहले जितना लड़ना है लड़ लो, लेकिन डिसीजन लेने के बाद लड़ाई नहीं होनी चाहिए.
But one more thing I want to come to, also in the interest of time, and this is the same topic, and I'm just You talked about hiring. We talked about hiring. I don't want to go into detail of that. But when was the time? You talked about CPO, other CXOs, Ankit. You can't afford those guys in your first few years, right? So when was the time, or according to you, what is the advice to founders to invest in these expensive uh, folks, VPs or CXOs who come with 15 plus years experience and so on and so forth, or 12 plus years experience? And or when did you guys take that plunge?
Build by borrow approach, same thing I used. So even today, our CHRO is in a borrowed channel, which means he's a
Amazing.
consultant. Though he holds CHRO position, but he's a consultant, not on the full payroll of the company because I can't afford it. Right? Even now, I can't afford it. So that's why we've kept it as a consultant position. Our director PR and communication is a consultant position, right? Because it is not the core of the organization. Therefore, we chose to save money there, but we can't afford to keep a substandard, a mediocre person there. So I'll go and find the right person, but instead of bringing them full time, I'll bring them part time because I don't need their full time for PR and communication, right? So that's how
Got it.
able to save costs, yet got that role fulfilled with the best talent out there. Right. Similarly,
Got it.
our say engineering chief of engineering or product are build roles. They have evolved from a UX designer or a developer, literally an iOS developer to iOS lead to mobile lead to now handling all the engineering positions, right? Or CPO who has been a UX designer to a product manager to multiple product managers to now sort of chief of product, right? So this has happened through build channel. And we have also bought CXOs, right? We have bought chief of business strategy right on the from the market who was already doing great in the same field in some other organization. Or we have bought chief of growth and marketing who has already built products at scale of 500 million or 400 million users, right? So sometimes you have to take a judicious call and create a right mix. At an early stage, you can live without
But when
CXOs.
did you, in your parlance,
Right.
when you bought them, if I may
Hmm.
ask, what
Uh,
capitalization were you at? How much funds had, I mean,
yeah.
what stage of the company, या कितना पैसा raise कर चुके थे आप?
Yeah. Many of times it's also driven by the investors, right? For example, in my latest fundraise, investors have asked me, or rather forced me through the SHA clause that we have to hire a CFO. Right. So now we are looking out for a CFO. I didn't hire it because we had borrowed a CFO. Until now, it's a borrowed CFO from the outside consultancy world. Right. Now the investors are also forcing for having two independent directors on the board, right? Because they feel the need for it. There's a lot of money in the company, and therefore there's a need for a CFO. Earlier, there was not much money in the company. There was no need for the CFO, right? The business had started, monetization started 2 years ago. We were asked to hire a CBO. Earlier, we did not have a CBO, right? We had business development managers. When the product development was the core KPI for our organization growth, we had to, literally promote one of the best product guy in-house to become the chief of product, right? Uh,
Got it. Got
and so at different point of time, depending on the business priority, I would say we need to hire a CXO. We don't need all the CXOs upfront.
it. Got it.
We just
Got it.
need that CXO who is most needed at this point of time to drive my business forward.
Got it. For one question I have, and this is specifically for Rahul, perhaps, think of AI first companies. They are primarily the audience in the room are primarily product companies selling to enterprises or even developers, right? So they don't have marketing costs. Their primary costs are technology related costs. Think R&D, think training for ML models, cost of inferencing. How did you, or what is your advice to manage these costs from a CTO's lens, right in the early days? And also keep in mind that they are selling to enterprises. So does your pricing take care of it? How do you balance between your costs and your product pricing? and thinking especially from an AI first point of view, Rahul.
Okay, cool. So first of all, in our journey when we were beginning AI training and everything, so we started doing it on our desktops. And we initially we needed to save cost, and we needed and there was no time restriction like how much time it's going to take to train. So that's why we started all the experimentation on our desktops with multiple GPUs attached, and created clusters from it. But as you scale up, you need to time becomes very much important for you. At that time, you can move to clouds and then do the training on the clouds. Inferencing, I would always say it should always be on a cloud, because it needs to be reliable. You cannot do inferencing on your local desktop and then push it to your clients, unless your product is something like that where you need to render, and rendering is going to take like say 1 hour or 2 hour, and then you have to supply it to clients. So in that case, you for that use case, local setup would help. But if it's something which needs to happen instantly, let's say speech to text or translation or transliteration, something like that, that needs to happen instantly, then inferencing obviously should be on cloud. So for cost optimization, you need to work on a hybrid when you are starting up. Once you have grown already, when you are generating enough revenue, then it becomes the time becomes important for you, and then you can move it to clouds and decide accordingly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for this, Rahul. Uh, Very quick question, and I hope Ankit is still there. I know Ankit has a flight to catch and he has to rush. But one last question to you, Ankit and Rahul both. And I'm going to club this in two ways. Over the last 6 7 years, Bobble has today what I see of Bobble. I mean, I know you since a couple of years, but today you have multiple business and product and service offerings. You have brand solutions. You have data intelligence and so on and so forth. Not all of them started in one day. So that is on the product portfolio side. The second is you've expanded out of India also. You're in the Southeast Asia region and you have ambitions to go in other geographies. So talk to the founders in the room how you evolved and created multiple PMFs with every net new product offering and every net new geographical region. So think product offering layers and geographical regions layers. So can you talk a little bit about also can you talk to us about how to iterate and get multiple PMFs as you keep seeing the market signals as you talked about, launch a new product as well as launch a new geography. So product portfolio and geographical portfolio. Uh, Rahul and Kid, anybody wants to talk about this?
Well, so Ayush, in our case, it was a plan right from the beginning. Although
Okay.
the plan was not to launch all the business products, most of it was planned right from the beginning. A lot of it got uncovered or unfolded during the journey. Um, so we we were very clear right from the beginning that based on the consumer usage of the platform, it will generate data, it will generate content sharing, and it will generate engagement. We need to monetize all three of it. And we were very clear from the beginning. And we had few products in mind that could help us in monetizing these assets in the data advertising and marketing or the commerce domain. But we were also aware that some of these products would require a critical consumer mass. Some of these products we can start monetizing it right at an early stage, and some probably will be launched a couple of years later, right?
Thanks.
So that
Interesting.
broad thought process was, that broad framework was already in place in the beginning. Even when we were making investor pitches, etc., we used to demonstrate those frameworks. But having said that, when we, let's say, started monetizing data intelligence, we were uh, we were only doing data enrichment and predictive audiences. Later on, we realized that people who are actually using that service of ours are able to use that data to provide a derivative service of market intelligence to their clients are making 10x more money than us. That's when we decided why can't we bypass them and create that service ourselves, right? This is how we entered into
Got it.
market intelligence and competitive intelligence. Similarly, on the brand marketing side, while we were doing content branding, we started thinking, some advertiser came to us and said, we want to develop a custom keyboard theme, Oreo branded custom keyboard theme. Then we realized, okay, themes can also be monetized. Somebody came and said, we want to own an emoji. That's when we realized even emoji can be monetized, right? Uh, so we were keep getting market signals. We were not afraid of trying it out, and then using that success case study, trying to take it to other potential clients and trying to sell the same thing. And if it gets sold, which means there's a merit in making it a mainstream product. If it doesn't get sold in a repeated manner, that means it was just a one-off exercise, and we can park it aside and focus on things which are mainstream, right? So
Got it.
while you get market signal, there's a merit in doing the experiment and validating it and creating a success for that client, and then trying it out with few other clients. बाकी clients से अगर बोला कि हाँ सही लग रहा है, तो फिर उसे मेन स्ट्रीम बना के उसे फोकस किया जा सकता है. बट अगर बाकियों को नहीं चमका, मतलब इट वाज जस्ट अ वन ऑफ यूज केस
Got it.
specific
Yeah.
to that one client, so then you scrap it and move on. So we
Awesome.
kept trying,
Uh,
and even today we are trying multiple other experiments on revenue streams which are not yet mainstream. Mainstream में हमारे सिर्फ 3 revenue stream है, बाकी सारे experimental stage पे छोटे-छोटे scale पे चल रहे हैं.
Got it. Got it. I think we're about on time, but folks, audiences, sorry for the we went overboard. But I had some more questions, but I'll just pause right now and let me quickly open up for questions. I hope it is okay if we extend by a few minutes. So, folks, I'll
I can
open it
try,
for questions.
otherwise Rahul is still here.
Okay, so I don't think there are questions from the group. Uh, so with that, I think we can close it. Rahul, I had one question for you. To be honest, I was loving this conversation, and this was specifically to you, Rahul. Maybe we can take that if there are no questions. How do you leverage AI today, and what are you most excited about any emerging technologies in the next 5 years or 10 years?
Okay. So we didn't go ahead and directly started using AI from day one. So when we were building keyboard, in fact, when we were generating the bobble heads, all of them were traditional algorithm based outputs, even for generating heads, even for generating stickers. In fact, when we were creating keyboard, it was a very simple algorithm of unigrams. Then we came to n-grams, and then finite state automata. Uh, and then we jumped into artificial intelligence, because when we started solving for users, we saw we are not able to solve it using, let's say, this algorithm. We'll try some new algorithm. So we kept on evolving, and then we realized that using artificial intelligence we can solve these problems. So for every different modules, we started training AI models. And one of the challenge with training AI models was that it needs to work on edge on Android devices. Otherwise, you cannot do real-time typing, send it to internet, do it on server, and get the result back. It won't work when internet is not there, and it will be slow. So that's why all the models needs to work on device. So we needed to optimize for that. That was another research area that was needed. So everything right now which is happening on our keyboard, which runs on AI, for example, smart compose, sentence prediction, word correction, all those things, intent detection, all those things. In fact, in any language, in any macaronic language as well. For example, all the NLP guys will connect with us. That with the fact that most of the models are there for English. If you want to go for intent detection or anything else, you might find some models on Hindi, Marathi, other Indian languages as well. But when you start mixing these languages, there are not many models, many research papers online available. So we needed to do the research ourselves, and we figured it out, and then we started utilizing that in our keyboard and in our products. So the trends that I see right now is about the edge. Uh, there's much concern about privacy. So everyone wants. So if you're using Google, okay Google, or Alexa or Siri, everyone is concerned about, is it listening to me? Is it listening to everything that I am saying? So I see a lot of trends of inference in edge, and then if you start inferencing on edge, how will you train your model? How will you improve your model? Because you are not getting any data from that. Then there are a lot of studies going on federated learning, where you improve your model on edge itself, pick the diff of the model, and then retrain from those diff instead of from training from the raw data. So that's what we are also doing to improve our models. So these are the trend I see in the artificial AI space.
Nice, thank you. I think in the cohort, I don't know if the founder is around because we are over time, so people are leaving.
Yeah,
But there is a company called Edge Neural, and if I
yeah. I
understand
saw
their
that.
business
I saw
correctly,
that.
yeah, so and I am forgetting the name of another startup. It's Neuropixel or something. Folks from IT Kanpur,
Mhm.
also building federated learning. I'm not a hardcore techie, but I got my hands on a recent paper by Amazon, as well as Google has written a paper on federated learning. But thank you. I mean, this is insightful. So. Thanks, Rahul, and thanks, Ankit, for taking time out. I enjoyed the chat thoroughly. I hope you guys did, and I hope the audiences found this insightful, and there were some nuggets to take away. With that, and thanks once again to both of the Prasad brothers, and best of luck in building Bobble to what metric that was, 880 million to 800 million. Was that the revenue metric, the capital
That is
raise metric?
80 million is our current active users, and 100 is
Yeah, I knew that. I was just just on a lighter note.
yeah.
So in that 10x journey from 80 million to 800 million.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, thank you for
Thanks.
taking time out today. Have a good rest of the evening, everybody. Bye bye.
Thanks, Cyrus. Thanks, everyone. All the best. Bye. Take care.